Welcome, everybody, to the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette, and we're so glad you're with us to stay curious. And we're in Vandyland today for Stay Curious, a beautiful United Launch Alliance rocket headed to space with a top secret military uh, uh, mission up there. We're adjusting my microphone here. We got Marty Winkle, my cameraman, co-producer, been with me on this journey since the beginning, back in March 2020. And of course, Jessica Galloway, she's running the control board today. We got a couple little complicated things to do. Throw a couple videos in there for you as we look back on Vandenberg Air Force Base. Why? Because on this date in 1966, they broke their record of 123 launches in 1 year from Vandenberg. And that's quite a lot. 2 a day, you kidding me? And a lot of those were Pershing rockets and Vanguard rockets that were built to protect America's borders. And this is a space coast on the west where these rockets were pointing towards China and over Russia and all that stuff. So even though we don't talk about the Cold War much anymore, you better believe it, there's still a lot of missiles pointing to everybody every day. And Vandenberg is one of the places where a lot of top secret missions were launched. Jessica lived there, was on the base working there. She's going to chime in a few times here about with some pictures she brought, because this is not like looking at a launch at Kennedy Space Center or Cape Canaveral where you can go to the beach or over here at our beautiful Space View Park in Titusville. No, it's the launch complexes are hidden behind hills, and it's just not apparent. You can drive right by it. So stick with us here on Stay Curious. Learn some things that I have learned about Vandenberg, and be kind to me, because our research assistant didn't have time to dig into all what launches we're going to look at and stuff like that, because that's me, Marty. And as this show evolved, it'll always get better. So we'll be talking about Vandenberg many more times, and we have before about it being the base that the shuttle Discovery was going to be launched from with top secret Department of Defense payloads. And our beloved chairman of the board, Charlie Mars, I call him our godfather, been involved with this museum over 20 years, nurturing it to where it is. Charlie, he was over this development of Slick 6, they called it, at Vandenberg. And I've got an awesome photo to show you of the whole complex with a space shuttle on Slick 6. So stay tuned for a great issue of Stay Curious here. Let's kick it off, though, with a couple birthdays. And today's birthdays, we got 2 birthdays and a sad shuttle death to note. So stick with us on that, and it's happy birthday. This is Nancy Curie. Okay, Nancy Curie Gregg is her name now. She's 61. Happy 63rd birthday to Nancy today. She was a 4-time shuttle flyer, born in Wilmington, Delaware, but considers Troy, Ohio to be her hometown. And I have friends in Troy, Ohio, having grown up about an hour and a half north in Findlay. Troy, Ohio is near Cincinnati. And she became an expert at the 50-foot robotic shuttle arm. She served in the Army for over 22 years, holding the rank of colonel. And yes, she did go to the Buckeye Ohio State University, a 1980 graduate. And STS 57, 70, 88, and 109 were her missions, accruing 41 days in space. That 109, of course, the Hubble 4th repair upgrade mission. She also visited, she was on STS 88 with Bob Cabana and Sergei Krikalev turning on the lights on our space station in 1998. And so she had quite a great career there. Happy 63rd birthday to Nancy Curie Gregg. And our other birthday today is the familiar name to many of you, maybe, Butch Wilmer. Happy 59th birthday to Butch, born December 29th, 1962, in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. But he was raised in Mount Juliet, so he's a Tennessee boy. Yes, he did go to the University of Tennessee. Aviation, got his master's there in aviation. He went to Tennessee Tech and studied electrical engineering and was on the football team there. But if you don't, he spent 178 days in space in 4 spacewalks. He was pilot of STS-29 in 2009, and then he flew to the International Space Station for a 6-month stay on a Soyuz rocket. Of course, in 2009, there were hints that the shuttle program was going to end, and or he would have been a pilot again and probably a commander. He is a Navy test pilot. He participated in the development of the T-45 Goshack trainer jet. And but what is he doing now? Well, Wilmer is going to be the commander of the crewed Starliner of Boeing whenever it gets launched. Now, Boeing still has to fly 2 uncrewed Starliners to the space station, and those work out right. He will be the commander with, I think, 3 other participants going on the first inaugural crewed flight of a Boeing Starliner. And I don't know if that's going to happen a year from now. That's optimistic, probably early 2023, okay? But we need to get these private companies in their spacecraft flying regular missions to the space station so we can chart a new destiny for what America's going to do in space, in near space orbit, as well as go back to the moon. So, on a sad note, we announced, as you probably have heard if you're a space geek, and we're under no illusions, we're giving you breaking news here, but we've got to acknowledge that astronaut Richard Clifford has died at age 69 of Parkinson's disease. Way too young at age 69. He was on 3 space shuttle missions, serving 27 days in space. He considered Ogden, Utah, his hometown. All right, though he was born in San Bernardino, California on October 13th, 52. And we celebrate his birthday, gang. Remember we were talking about the astronaut that flew with Parkinson's disease and didn't tell NASA that until after his 3rd space flight. This is all well known. He was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease in 94, and he flew 2 missions after that. And then there is a documentary on his struggle with the disease that was done in late 2011. And he became a very visible advocate of Parkinson's disease. What a horrible thing to have. West Point and Georgia Tech graduate. So God bless Michael Rich Clifford, who has passed away at age 69, a mission specialist on 3 shuttle flights. And he will be missed, and we send our condolences to his family and friends and the whole NASA community. Well, Vandenberg Air Force Base behind me here. And Space Force Base. Thank you for the correction. Man, before Marty corrected me.
Oh, man.
Geez, she's really getting in the groove there, Marty. Usually Marty's on top of that. And I need him. I need both of them. This is a team effort here, not just with the 3 of us, but our whole team here at the American Space Museum, because we want to be a good experience to be shared around the world, like Robert Law's watching on his big 200-foot screen TV probably in his bedroom. And we've got Dean Salzwedel in New Zealand, the Usiak brothers in Lancaster, snow on the ground, Tom messaged me the other day, Marty. So we're glad of that for you, okay, because I hit some golf balls before I came on the set today just to loosen up a little bit. And typical nice Florida weather today. But here is Vandenberg Space Force Base, which since the early 60s has been the site where we've launched probably more top secret missions than any. And like I said, we're going to see some of the rockets that launched from there. But the 6, 4, 3, and 2, those are the launch pad numbers that they called SLC, Space Launch Complex. SLIC for short, all right. Jessica, you roam these grounds over there, and she had a mild migraine this morning, and we got together late, and that's why I'm not putting her beautiful face on camera here, because she don't feel up to it so much. Though she's got a delightful nose ring in today, guys, so God bless you. Jessica, how many years were you out there, hon?
We were there for 4.
4 years, and she calls the launches out there wildly different than here on the Space Coast because it's in the mountains. There's no obvious sights to see, and she's got some kind of tourist photos here for me where it's easy to drive by it. It's just not apparent where you see it up and down the coast here on Route 1. of course, and then
you
over.
can see the river, you can see the launch.
Yeah.
Not so much in Vandenberg.
So, and you'll see why here when we see a few launches hidden behind the hills. There's also a fog going on. Here is a gorgeous launch of a military satellite. Very recently, I apologize for not pulling the information on that, and please forgive the copyright there for us here at our beautiful nonprofit. But there's an old school shot, not so old school. This is a Minuteman nuclear missile launch with, of course, a nuclear missile that wasn't a real one in 1981. And but on this date in 1966, December 29th, Vandenberg launched its 123rd launch of the year. 123 launches in a year. There's 365 days. Okay, man, every 3 days almost was a launch. And it was a Atlas. It was a Thor Agena D space booster combination. Probably had a sounding rocket on it because it doesn't sound like that could go to orbit. This annual launch record remained unbroken in 1996. Okay, and Marty and I have been trying to research a little bit. Is that still intact? But 123 launches in Vandenberg in 1 year. In 1966, the height of the Cold War with Soviet Union, and keeping our eye on China and other adversaries. So it makes sense that they were putting up a lot of military spy satellites, sounding rockets, and a lot of technology going on there. Just as active as here at Cape Canaveral Space Force in the 60s. But again, a lot of stuff is behind the mountains. And here's another rocket of a Minuteman rocket. This in the fog, note in the background there. And Jessica, who lived there 5 years, is telling me that this fog in the wildly different environment where so many launches were not advertised. I guess you just be driving down the road and all of a sudden you see a rocket fly up there.
You don't get the text alerts.
You don't get text alerts. Like, yeah, we always get an alert that the emergency system here in Brevard County has locked down their system and stuff. So you don't get any of that, huh?
Because it's all behind the gate.
Everything's behind the gate. You're going to see a gate here in a minute. But we wanted to thank all of you watching us or listening to us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And we're trying to be more descriptive than ever, as we have here a rocket launched with a big old orange plume. It looks like a solid rocket, makes that much dirty rocket exhaust, with a beautiful background of the bay there, and looks like a surfer's paradise over there behind the rocket, as the Pacific Ocean gently rolls into the banks of Vandenberg Space Force Base there. So, but we thank people on Spotify and Apple. This is new to us. Please tell your friends to like us, and if you want to see our pretty faces, go to Facebook Live, YouTube, and Twitch. And Twitch is a gaming platform that's quite popular, and we love you people liking us, sharing us, following us, and subscribing to us on all of these platforms. It's so important to our nonprofit that for 20 years has been preserving the birth of America's space age right here in what we call the delivery room, Brevard County. And that's what the American Space Museum is all about, is preserving these artifacts that you can see 60 years later, many of these artifacts from the birth of our space age. And we want them to be seen in 160 years, just like Civil War objects are being seen today, so that people can enjoy where it all started. Because in 100 years, Marty, your great-grandkids will have great-grandkids maybe, and be going to the moon for a vacation. I got no doubt that space tourism will be going on for Jessica's great-grandkids, if that ever happens. If it's not. Too bad if it's not. But
I'll be mad if it's not.
That's our little plug for our museum to all of you listening to us for the first time on Spotify and Apple. So important to our nonprofit, which American Space Museum is the arm of the U.S. Space Walk of Fame Foundation, founded in 1999 to build a beautiful park with 30 handprints of astronauts in bronze over there. The only place in the world you can lay your hands on Neil Armstrong's, Buzz Aldrin's, Gene Cernan. All of them are there. Those that aren't there, we've got beautiful busts of their faces, because some of them that died before 1999, we still acknowledge Gus Grissom and Ed White. Anyway, there is another fog shot. All of this Vandenberg Air Force Base being undercover, the launch pads being broken up in between mountains, and the fog led to Jessica says a lot of conspiracy theories, weird
Twitter and
public
Facebook.
and people on Facebook making weird things and so forth. But it's just fog. That's the United Launch Alliance Rocket Bay there. And Jessica, these are your tourist shots there that she shows are these the San Bernardino Mountains?
Nah, it's just the Lompoc.
And
Central Valley.
Vandenberg is right middle of San Francisco to the north and Los Angeles to the south, in a little piece of California that juts out into the Pacific Ocean, just like the Space Coast here juts out in the Atlantic Ocean. And you took that from your car, huh?
Yep.
So you can see some of the structure there of the launches, but
Only if you get past the gate.
oh,
This
you're
was-
past the gate. All right,
This
yeah,
was
right.
on my
This
way to a squadron function that was at the lake house, the oceanside.
And what was
lake
your
house.
job there, Jessica?
I worked in the Force Support Squadron Marketing Department.
She was in the support marketing department there, which makes sense, and that's why she's such a good marketer, because your taxpayers help pay her to learn all this
Yeah.
stuff. So we love it. All right. And
One
there,
side of the
like
road-
I said, there's the Pacific Ocean. You're just driving down the road, and if you blink your eyes, you pass it, huh?
One side of the road had the facilities on it, which was the previous slide, and then this side of the road has that planed off cliffside.
Oh yeah, look there to the right. You got your arrow there. That's the planed off cliffside.
Yeah, got that.
All
circle.
right. Yeah, over there to the right. And why did they have to plane off the side of the road? Well, guess what? They were going to launch the space shuttle from there. Perfect segue. There is Slick 6, they
You
call
meant
it.
to do that.
Launch Pad 6. Slick 6 is right there. And that is Enterprise and the whole complex that our beloved Charlie Mars was the overseer of this billion-dollar project that never happened.
Here's the guy behind the scenes.
Charlie certainly was. He was pulled from what was then Space Station Freedom in Washington, D.C., I think he told me. And they didn't really like being in Washington, D.C. And then this came up that Air Force wanted to buy Discovery outright, write a $2 billion check, and this baby's ours. And then they built the infrastructure there. And what you have there is the pad is actually also the VAB, right, Marty? The pad doesn't move. They move that USAF there to the right, covers up the shuttle, and the other part to the right also covers it up, and they work on it in there. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Is that all far apart that the structures are from this 7 million pounds of thrust?
Yeah.
7.5 million, Marty? 7.5, he's nodding his head. Okay. And look at the mountains back there. The sound suppression system is roaring off of a gigantic reservoir in the mountain area there. Quite a complex, and they built it, but they never launched from there because of Challenger, I think.
Not the shuttle, at least.
Challenger happened. In Charlie Mars, we've got a wonderful program where he talks about this old school ways with Marty and pictures and so forth. And
We'll have to get him on here.
well,
Do an update.
we're gonna have Charlie back for sure, because he can talk for an hour about that picture. And you folks have never seen this picture aerial photo. I'll bet you there's all kinds of permission to take this. All right. Because you don't get up in the air on Vandenberg, top secret
nothing.
military base, without a lot of clearance there. But that's Enterprise on a fit check. And Charlie has said on our Stay Curious program, and many times privately to me, that he really worried about the sound suppression bouncing off the mountains. And what would be the problem with that? It knocking off tile on the belly of the shuttle, because that tile was on there glued, not super glued, all right, on there because of the innate nature of the tile having to perform in reentry. So, but it was never used for that, and spent a little too more time than I was going to on the shuttle era at Vandenberg. but they mothballed it, and Slick 6, Space Launch Complex 6, Slick 6 is forevermore the former place where they were the Department of Defense was going to launch. The other reason I wanted to point out why this didn't come into fruition, because of the increased technology of the digital world, and the Air Force decided that it was cheaper to make unmanned reconnaissance aircraft, spy satellites like Big Bird. The KH-11 and 12 were designed to be put in the cargo bay. Actually, the cargo bay of the shuttle was designed to the specifications of the Air Force to put clandestine spy satellites in there, including Big Bird, a very famous one. So there was no need for it to be there. As a Defense Department, why risk 4 lives of astronauts, which is the minimum crew you want to fly, to go to space to put a satellite up there when now they're getting digital technology and all that come online. So helping you stay curious here today. And there's another view of Slick 6, covered up the way it was going to be with the shuttle underneath there. Very close to the ocean, of course, in case anything goes wrong. Like the astronauts could survive a ditch in the ocean. I'm not sure about that. We're so grateful nothing ever happened during a launch except the Challenger. Pardon me?
They want to mention they launched south.
And they may want to mention they marched south, Marty. Yes, the reason why this is here is to launch south. As we look at Slick 5 being demolished by SpaceX, who took it over, is to get the equatorial spin, all right, the spin of the Earth to go not equatorially, but go north and south. And because spy satellites going north and south over the Earth is turning under you, so it's quicker to maneuver that satellite and get over a hot spot, all right, within 24 hours. You can't do that when you're going around the Earth's equator because of the physics of orbital mechanics. You expend more fuel trying to go up and down in there.
If you go polar, you get to see every point in the
right. If you go polar, you can see the entire Earth eventually. Exactly. And
it's all the logistics.
It's all the logistics in there, and that's why Vandenberg is the important Space Force base that it is for America's security. There it is again, another Slick, not sure which one that is. That's the one, it looks like it's got a United Launch Alliance rocket on it there. And there is a beautiful Launch Alliance rocket there going up to space with a National Reconnaissance Organization rocket. And imagine you're just, Jessica, where was this from, you think? And how far away? 20 miles?
Not even.
The telephoto lens and...
Oh gosh, yeah. No, PA was able to, public affairs at the base was able to get the real good spots, and so they would release the.
So you're out hanging your laundry somewhere in a suburb around here, and then all of a sudden you see a rocket on base go up there, and it wasn't announced, and you're going, damn, that's got three barrels on it there.
Yeah.
And what does it sound like?
Very similar to the sound here, you know. Living as close as we do, it was about the same distance away where we were on base.
Well, that sound being a low rumble that kind of builds up bigger, stuff like that.
Rattle a little bit.
And we're going to show a video here that we'll describe for our Spotify and Apple podcast listeners here in just a minute. There's another launch again from another pad.
Those rolling hills. The
rolling hills going in there. And I'll bet it took a while for that exhaust to dissipate.
It does.
It seems like it would lay around there more unless you had a windy day. And of course, a very windy day, you're not going to launch. So kind of a catch-22 there. So that kind of seems hazardous to me to the workers with all of that laying around there. But hey, it is top secret. So they dispense masks or something for you secretly. Well, here we got a little GIF of Jessica. This is a SpaceX launch, time exposure. That is Los Angeles over. What town is that?
It's LA.
That's LA. So you're way closer to LA than you are San Francisco.
So this is looking north because the rocket launches south. So when the rocket launches towards LA,
Oh,
you
I
get
got
these
you.
crazy good
Okay,
views.
okay. So it's a suburb of LA. You're like west of LA.
No, you're northwest.
Okay, no, yeah, you're northwest of LA.
So when this rocket
And,
launches to the south, like Marty said, you get this cool effect in the sky. So many pictures. People were on Facebook and Twitter. Oh God, I thought I saw a UFO.
And it's Los Angeles, so they
Yeah,
could think of
yeah,
anything
it's
going on
wild.
there. But look at how that beautiful the trail is, like we usually see. In this, that is at separation, and the first stage is coming back. And the exhaust of the first stage that you saw come back off to the right, I noticed, there is what the plume is creating by
I
that.
saved the file name with the ISO setting. It's 1200 ISO.
Okay, 1200 ISO.
I know
And
you
see
know
the
what that
rocket
means.
coming back to the right there off of there.
I
So
know
yeah,
you know what that means.
yeah, that it's very sensitive. It's not your normal 400 type of thing there. All right, awesome. So there's a little, and we're looking at the lights of LA, and the rocket goes up in a streak, and then it blows up into this big jellyfish, blue-looking
So
thing.
cool.
And Marty, I think some of that is exhaust of the first stage being deplenished as the second stage ignites. It illuminates it, and we haven't seen this view for a while. There was a series of shots where for a while we saw that
The
huge
jellyfish.
jellyfish there, and it's also at twilight, which is catching some twilight there. So, all right. Well, we got one more video to take you out on, but we wanted to remember our Skylab 4 crew that in 1974 was halfway through their 84 days in space. This is day 43 in space for the Skylab crew, launched November 16th, 1974. I love my button there. Skylab support crew.
There you
Okay.
go.
I've been wearing this throughout the whole mission because we've got in the middle there, Ed Gibson's 87 years old, and we want to get Ed on the program here. So, you know, I'll do anything I can to make our guests feel welcome here. But he lives here on the Space Coast. And Charlie, please give him a call and tell him we want to talk to him before February 8th when he gets down from Skylab 4 in 1974, which is how many years ago is that? 40, 74 is 48,
It's like 50.
going to be 48 years ago, 47 years ago. Only because I got a 50th high school reunion coming around the corner. Can I cipher that math? But yeah, we need Ed on the program here. He's a great guy. We lost Bill Pogue over 10 years ago, I think, somewhere in that regard. He was a wonderful Space Coast astronaut. And Jerry Carr, we lost 2 years ago, I believe. He was in his late 80s. Jerry was the rookie commander of this mission. And Pogue and Jerry grew these big bushy beards up there. So we'll have to. But we want to remember those guys halfway through their historic 84 days in space on Skylab, the third crewed mission, and that stood for over a decade. As 84 days is the longest time anybody was in space. So.
All right, you ready for that video?
Yeah, we're going to take you out to one more rocket launch at Vandenberg as we look back on the history of 123 launches done in Vandenberg at the height of the Cold War in 1966. Many of those were Minuteman nuclear missiles. Some of those were some nuclear submarines, I'm sure, were hovering out there, launching a few. What's the ICB? Intercontinental ballistic missiles that were developed very quickly here at Cape Canaveral and Vandenberg Air Force Base. So,
Real bad photo edit.
and that's cool.
I'm
Looking in the
going
rear,
away.
Jessica's looking in the rearview mirror of Vandenberg as she's become a valuable asset. Just not to us here at the American Space Museum, but she and her husband works in the space industry, and we're happy to have
We
them
like
on
it
board.
here.
And they like it here, and the daughter's getting a good education here. So, let's look at this last video, which is some from your friends.
Elena Afferbaugh and Megan, you have it written down.
Elena Afferbaugh and Megan Emily Agresti.
Yep.
Uh,
My
and
Vandenberg spouses.
all right, your Vandenberg spouses out there. Here's a twilight shot.
So you guys should be able to hear the audio.
SpaceX, it's a big ball of fire at the launch pad as you're looking at the mountains in the distance. You're probably a good 30 miles away here. looking
I'd say
over the
about
desert.
20.
About 20, okay. And the fireball lights up because on video you don't see the rocket. It's a beautiful twilight with the pinkish horizon and the violet blue now that's getting up into there. And pretty soon you're going to see a contrail go behind it there. And the contrail is when it's hitting maximum G forces as well as
you're
it's,
getting the rumble now.
as the interface. Now here's the rumble. Ooh, excuse me.
They were like, oh man, this is going to be real pretty.
Yeah, I can hear a little bit of rumble there.
I turned it up for you.
And Jessica again was talking how these are wildly different launches. The people, there's not even many road turnoffs. There's the moon over there on the right. There's not many moon turnoffs that you can
tuck away.
watch. So a lot of people are over 20 miles away. And then once the second stage separated and is on its way, the first stage plume of exhaust is illuminated. We're looking at here, like a cloud illuminated like a light bulb, like an incandescent bulb from
This is
inside.
the
And at the
jellyfish.
bottom, you see the jellyfish developing as the first stage is coming back to land, which, by the way, 100 times Elon Musk's Falcon 9 has landed.
This was
And
one
that
of the
reminds me that
first landings.
and we're going to ask you, Marty and I are going to do tomorrow a top 10 list of our space history in 2021. Where does the 100th landing of a Falcon 9 stack up, you might say? Is it in our top 10? Well, that's to tease you all to watch tomorrow. And thank you very much, Jessica, for the inside look at Vandenberg there. A nice little program that I pulled together here.
In the rear view.
And we're in the rear view. Leave that up there. That looks so cool. Vandenberg, of course, they've replaced that with Space Force Base since you've been there. And is the weather like, does it get very cold there?
Not really.
No,
There
so-
was no air conditioning.
No air
In
conditioning.
the houses on base.
At the houses on base had no air
No air
conditioning.
conditioning. Because
Wow.
the average temperature.
So Walmart had the largest fan section you've ever seen, probably.
I got me a window unit and it was on blast.
Oh yeah, you get a window air AC in there. Well, at any rate, sorry for Dave staying up there in Michigan, and we've got Laskers up there, and
Christopher Mix watching.
Christopher Mix always watching. Thank you, Christopher, for telling your friends to watch. And we'll meet Christopher Mick one day. He said he's coming here in March. And so we'll look forward to having you on the other side of the camera. He's a STEAM educator there. And I don't have my list in front of me, but I know Hazel Banks is watching here in Merritt Island. She's one of our solid volunteers here. We love you, Hazel, for all you've done for our museum. And what has she done? She sent us money regularly as one of her favorite nonprofits. And we've also got
The lights.
the likes. You can send us money all kinds of ways, but I'm not going to get into that because we'll get a little carried away. We're going to have some vehicles next year for you all to help us. Many of you have helped us, and we appreciate that so much because we wouldn't be able to be on Spotify, Apple, on audio podcast without the equipment that we bought this year, thanks to a nice endowment from the Louise G. West Endowment Fund and your contributions. So we look forward to you liking us, sharing us, following us, and telling your friends to subscribe to us. YouTube is getting big for us. Thank you much. There's more than just Stay Curious on YouTube. There's a cool, if you like rocket explosions, there's a whole reel of those on there, and some interviews with Fred Hayes, our favorite astronaut, board member emeritus here, and so on and so forth. So come back tomorrow when Marty and I have put together a top 10 list of what happened in 2021. What's your top 10 events, all right? Well, we've got our own list, and we want you to be prepared with yours to chime in tomorrow. Jessica will be here helping us with the board, and we're going to get a whole bunch of things developed over here before this week to be ready for 2020. Why? So we can
2022.
2022 next year. All right. We want you to be with us as we stay curious in 2022. I'm Mark Marquette, bridging the space between us.